I wasn't originally going to be recording two videos in a single day, and this one will probably be going up the day after. But I've been thinking about the recent Activision layoffs that's been going on, and it's definitely a very troubling situation. And anyone who was let go, I definitely wish you the best of luck on it. But this represents a greater topic that we've discussed about before, and something that keeps coming up when we talk about the game industry. And that is that this is in many cases, a very bad industry to work in. Now, I know that kind of goes counterproductive to many of the videos here on the channel. Again, we've talked about the art of game development. We've talked about the beauty that comes from designing a game and getting this out for people to enjoy. But at the end of the day, this is still a very rough industry. And before I go forward my thoughts, just a quick primer again for people who missed the news. It's been reported that despite having overwhelming success this past year, Activision Blizzard has let go of 800 people out of the Blizzard part of the company, or the Blizzard side of things. And again, these are people in all sectors of the company. And those two sentences that I just said, Activision Blizzard reporting massive profits and success, letting go of 800 people, it kind of sounds like a contradiction there. And there have been many other YouTubers, of course Jim Sterling has made his video on the topic already, but this is still one of the more depressing parts about the game industry, and it's something very important for people to understand if they want to work at a AAA company, or even if they work at a smaller studio who then gets bought out or gets, majority ownership by another company like that. And the sad truth is that for a lot of these companies, they really unfortunately don't care about individual employees. And this is a topic in of itself that we've talked about before, and just how important one person is to the scope and definition or development of a title. When we talk about an independent team and you are a 5-person team, if 2 people leave, well, you're out a whole lot of workforce. But when we talk about companies that have hundreds or even thousands of employees, a lot of those people sometimes generally get to be shuffled into, another cog in the machine kind of atmosphere. And even gamers and the community around them also kind of feel that way. Again, it's very rare outside of development leads or studio heads that you really get to hear what it's like to work at a company, or even just being a part of that studio. Nintendo is probably one of the few exceptions to this. While they do have the Nintendo Directs with Reggie Fils-Aimé and a few other of the higher up heads, I know the new head of Nintendo whose name I don't remember, they also give time to let developers on for the Nintendo Direct to talk about their passion. But for a lot of companies, unless you are just talking to like community managers or community reps, you don't know exactly what goes on in that company or who's even working there. There is the long-standing joke of everyone just skips the credits of a video game because nobody cares about that. But the point is that those credits are very important for people looking to get another job in this industry. And it's again the turnover rate of AAA studios that's very frightening for a lot of people. Again, when you take a normal job, you assume you're going to be there until either the work is done, or, if it's a temporary contract, that specified period of time. But normally, if you're working a normal job, you know that unless that company goes under, as long as you're doing a great job, you genuinely have job security. But what we've seen out of the AAA market, and what's very frightening, is that publishers have more and more control over what it means to be or to run these studios. And again, it's the kind of, double-edged sword, or I guess maybe like the Ouroboros, the snake eating a snake kind of thing. That if you want these massive titles, you want your Red Dead Redemptions, your World of Warcrafts, The Division, pick any big name title that's coming out, Anthem being another good example, money, or a lot of money and time and energy has to be put into that. There's no way around that. there is no independent team, no matter how great they are, of like 5 to 10 people, who can make an Anthem or a Mass Effect in, 2 to 3 years of development. And again, this spherical nature when it comes to the game industry has been a very hotly debated point about women to work at these studios. That you can completely pick up your life, move halfway around the country, even halfway around the world, work at a major studio, and then find that your job is gone. And where do you go from there? Some people may get picked up by the studio. Those are people who could be like too important to be let go, friends and friends, that kind of thing. But for a lot of the people who work at these studios, the many artists, programmers, scripters, anyone who doesn't have like a lead next to their name, they can find themselves without any place to go and be stuck in a part of the world that they don't have any context for. And it's again leading back to this issue and why so many people have jumped at the opportunity of indie development this past decade. Because you become your own boss. And again, we are not saying that becoming your own boss is this magical, lovely time where nothing can go wrong. We have plenty of videos contrary to that point. But when you're responsible for success and failure, that's still a better pill to swallow compared to having some executive who just made who knows how much money say that even though our company is doing the best it ever was, we still need to cut costs, all of you people are gone. And it again returns to that point about what is the value of somebody working in a game studio. And it's not an easy question to answer. Again, you talk about someone like Shigeru Miyamoto, Jake Solomon, Hideo Kojima, and any other number of developers who have gotten to that point of being a pseudo celebrity. Yes, again, Nintendo is not going to fire Shigeru Miyamoto at this point, even if his next game doesn't, be a Game of the Year winner. Likewise, Jake Solomon has become very recognizable for Access, and Hideo Kojima, he got fired by Konami, and he now has his own major company. But what about all the other people? And it's one of those crazy things that I've seen more with Game Wisdom, that when I interview a lot of indie developers or talk to people through Twitter or on these casts, that they have sometimes a very wide assortment of credits. They could be a programmer at one company, to being the lead of another studio, to doing something else. And you would think that with those credits, it would be very easy to find this kind of work. But it's still a very bitter pill to swallow when you've worked at a company for who knows how many years. Again, there's 800 employees who were just let go off of Blizzard. Who knows how long they've been working there for? And where do you go from there? Nothing is 100% secured. And it's one of the reasons why indie development has become at least a way of keeping sane. Because again, at the end of the day, you are managing things yourself. But it's still a very tough time for everyone involved in the industry. We're not even going to discuss the whole idea of the quote-unquote indie-apocalypse that people have been talking about for 2019. We're still in February. We're not even halfway done this year yet. So things can certainly get better, but they can also get worse. And to begin to wrap up this piece, I want to again turn to the topic of unions. Again, it's something that for a lot of developers, especially those on the smaller side, they either don't care about or they don't see the need. But I think more and more, we do need to have some kind of protection for employees. Maybe not at the independent level. Again, with every indie studio being its own unique element, you can't really have a one-size-fits-all plan for that. But we can at least set some guidelines for major studios. When major companies pull in record-breaking numbers of revenue and then decide to let go of so many employees, something is not right about that. And it's a crazy situation to be had. I'm trying to quickly look up any numbers in terms of they reported the actual revenue that they've earned. and nothing is coming out like immediately. Oh, here it is. According to a fourth quarter earnings report for 2018, they made about $7.26 billion in physical and digital sales, which is up from $7.16 billion. And the CEO, Bobby Kotick, who I know a lot of people certainly love, said they still fail to meet expectations. And again, those sentences don't really make sense in my mind. I'm sure they don't make sense for a lot of people watching this. And this is where I think the importance of having some kind of protection for employees should come in. A few months ago, we talked about Telltale Games and the very fact that those employees were let go, a lot of them without any severance pay as well. And that's not what you do, and especially not what you do when you're a major studio. Again, we have to point out the distinction between an indie and a AA and AAA studio. While independent developers may have to run into those issues if they do get big enough, we want to focus exclusively on the major companies, because that's where we can hopefully start to see some changes and make things better for everybody. For everybody. Because at the end of the day, if there aren't people around wanting to work on a game, the game is not going to be made. And I think this is definitely a time for gamers to start actually, speaking with their wallets about these issues. Because as we've seen, it doesn't matter if you do report record-breaking numbers if people are still getting fired in the process. And there's been some talks going around about how the former head of Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, actually took pay cuts when the company didn't meet their earnings goals in order to protect their employees. And that's something I know Jim Sterling also talked about as well, that really should, I think, be some kind of standard or be a process going forward, because it shows that you actually care about the people making these products. But as I said a few minutes ago, there's not going to be any game footage because really there's nothing we can really show to explain this. But again, my thoughts definitely go out to those employees. I hope you all bounce back. And there are plenty of developers, whether they are big or small, putting out job postings to help those in need. So definitely hats off to you. But thanks for watching this Industry Insight. I guess another melancholy discussion. And I'll see you all for another talk here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games. Thank you to our Patreon backers. And if you'd like to continue this discussion on game design, check out our Discord channel, linked down below. If you're looking for another book about game design, be sure to check out my first title, 20 Essential Games to Study, out now. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed things, be sure to do all the liking and subscribing that the kids are doing these days. Check out our Discord channel linked down below, where we hang out and chat game design, and come back later tonight for our regular streamings. But that's it, and tune in for more great content here and on Game Wisdom, where we examine the art and science of games.